This is what is different about us than the orchestras or the bands. In the choir, people have a passion for what they do. They love it. We're driven by love. We're driven by passion. And, I just want to see that passion continues. That culture we've achieved, we've arrived at, we've unveiled a culture in the city, a culture of music, of love and passion that presents world-class performances to the audience. And I just want to see that protected.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. This work is made possible through the generous support of our incredible partners: Cap Trust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations; Western Health Advantage, a local not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring; CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local, trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. This episode, I'm joined by a most unique guest, one I'm honored, privileged, and I might say a little bit awed to be in the presence of. What he has done to help shape Sacramento's cultural life for nearly 3 decades is not only incomprehensible, but remarkable as well. We're blessed as a community he chose to take the route he did with the Sacramento Choral Society. Founded in 1996 by conductor Donald Kendrick and guided alongside Executive Director James McCormick, the Choral Society has presented more than 180 performances, earned national recognition, traveled abroad, numerous awards, and built a remarkable model of artistic excellence powered largely by committed, passionate volunteer leadership. As the organization approaches its 30th anniversary and prepares for a thoughtful transition in both artistic and executive leadership, this conversation is an opportunity to reflect on the impact of their work, the community they've built, and the future of an institution that continues to inspire. Donald Kendrick, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Jeff.
Well,
it's my world, the nonprofit world.
This is true. This is and ours as well.
Yeah.
If you would give us a high-level overview of the Choral Society, what is the Choral Society, and really some of the accolades and the incredible recognition that you've gotten over the course of the last 30 years?
That's been a long time, 3 decades of making music in this city. The Sacramento Choral Society is really the greatest gift we could have given to the city. Not just this city, but literally around the globe. And it's basically housewives, doctors, lawyers, teachers, amateurs, painters. I mean, everybody from 7 different counties. They come from as far away as Fairfield up to Grass Valley, from Stockton to Sacramento, and they all arrive in Sacramento on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and magic happens till 9:30. These are people who really want to be a part of something pretty extraordinary and who believe in the value of singing, the power of the human voice. I tell my kids at Sac State years ago, singing in a choir is not the same as playing in an orchestra or being in a band or a marching band. Those are different things, and they have their own value and they're all important. But singing in a choir befits you for life in ways that nothing else can. It teaches you to express the inexplicable. And when you become a chorister, you become a chorister for life. Singing is a completely different environment than an orchestra. Orchestras don't get it. They come in, they play, and then they go home. But choirs meld together, and they have a society, and they're social, and they care about each other. They love each other, and they want to produce quality music. So we've done over 180 classical concerts. Good heavens. Over 180 classical concerts. What are our accolades? And KVIE did a great documentary on us.
Yes, they did.
A great documentary, Rob on the Road, that actually went national and went all over the country. They'd never seen anything like the Sacramento Choral Society and Orchestra. The Sacramento Choral Society, I mean, I've said this to you earlier, every city in America, Chicago, Boston, New York, Dallas, they all have professional symphony orchestras. Those are professional players who get paid, their union, and they put on great concerts of great classical music. But most of those orchestras have a chorus appended to them, like, it's an amateur chorus, maybe from the school or the university, or maybe it's, just a community group. And they come in, and they have different groups, and they'll come in and they'll sing a concert or two once or twice a year, and then that's it, We turned the horse and the cart backwards. The chorus actually owns our own professional symphony orchestra. What? That's unheard of in America.
Right.
The chorus owns. We have a collective bargaining agreement.
So
with
fully
the orchestra.
union orchestra.
Fully union orchestra. We guarantee them work for 2 to 3 years. So now they can put down their mortgage and they can buy a house, raise it. So they can be assured of an income from us for 3 years, and we renew it every 3 years. So there's an organization in Washington, as I said earlier, called Chorus America. And Chorus America is a big national flagship for choirs across the Fruita Plain. So they keep track of all the choirs and their budgets and their programming and their soloists and their tours and their CDs. And they are just flabbergasted that we, in Sacramento, California, the capital of our state, not L.A., they're flabbergasted that we are running a professional symphony orchestra. It's always the orchestra who runs the chorus, right?
Right.
Not us. We run the orchestra. And now there's other orchestras. There's the Philharmonic and other professional orchestras in this town. But our orchestra for 30 years has been under the guideship of the choir himself. We pour money. So it's quite remarkable. We've done 11 tours nationally. I mean, you name the country, Jeff, we've been there pretty well. Self-funded tours, I might add.
Yes.
We've been to China. Good Lord, I took 220 people to China. 6 busloads. Unbelievable. We went to Beijing. We went to our sister city, mayor house. It was called Jinan in the South China. We went to Beijing. We went to Tianjin. We went to Xi'an, the ancient capital. We've been to Germany, France. I mean, we've been all over the world, and really being cultural ambassadors for Sacramento. We're taking our town, our city, and we're representing us on the international stage. And that's what our mayor talks about. He wants Sacramento to be a world-class city, And how better to do that than through the arts? So we have about 900 alumni, which is pretty amazing.
And those would be your singers and performers of some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Over the past years, people have sung with. These are alumni from the choir who've moved on or moved away or gone to other cities.
Sure.
So we have a huge alumni. And then, of course, we're very, very strong into outreach to our veterans. We're very generous, very kind to our veterans and to students, too. So you think you came to our Christmas show at the Memorial Auditorium. And, it's called Home for the Holidays. And we've done it for 30 years. And we do it in Memorial Auditorium. And we give about 250 seats out to the veterans. And these guys love to come to Memorial Auditorium. This hall was built for us. We are veterans. This is called the Veterans Memorial Hall. We know that. And they are so moved by the Christmas music that we do. It fills their hearts with warmth. And they get teary-eyed, some of them. And they come in uniform, and they're happy to be there. So we're proud of that. We've done 10 professionally mastered CDs. People say, these days people say, what's a CD? Well, if you still have a CD player, we have, a lot of
one
people.
Of these things.
Exactly. But now people are hearing music in their own way, streaming it and things. It's different. The application is different. So we're not making too many more CDs. But we over the years, 10 professionally mastered CDs. That's a lot. We've raised over $3 million in the past few years. That's a lot of money. $3
That's
million
a tremendous amount of money.
just to make this happen. So,
and Don, what do you think it is? Why Sacramento? What other than the leadership, which 30 years, two gentlemen, yourself and James McCormick,
right.
one on the administrative side, one on the creative side of things. Why Sacramento? Why has Sacramento embraced the Choral Society to the extent that it has?
Well, I think people just want to do great things in their city. And when they see an organization that is doing something that is affecting change in their life. When I was a kid, I'm from Canada, from Calgary, Alberta. When I was young, my dad said, well, you should do something valuable in your life. You should be a doctor or something. And I said, I'm going to be a musician. But I am healing people. We're healing people through music.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't put a price tag on that. I think people want, and these are particular, well, they're sort of people who are interested in classical music. That's a strain in itself, but not everyone likes classical music. A lot of people like rock and roll or reggae or hip-hop, I don't know. But they want to, there's something powerful about singing the Verdi Requiem or the Dream of Gerontius of Sir Edward Elgar or a Mass by Haydn. It just, and these are people, they, as I said, they're housewives, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're people who want to be a part of something that actually does something good for their community and makes the community better, a better place to live, and elevates the cultural life of the city. And this Sacramento, the capital of the state of California, should have a great choir and a great orchestra. We're the only ones in town who are producing this product. Mm-hmm. You would not hear the Dvorak Requiem. I did it 30 years ago. How I did it. 30 years ago, I did this Requiem in this town. And this year, right now, this very minute, I'm the oldest I'll ever be. This very minute, I wanted to reach back 30 years ago and pull something that I did at the start to do in my 30th year. So I decided to do the Dvorak Requiem.
That's why, okay.
Unbelievable music. He wrote it in 1890. He said, he wrote a little letter to a friend, I think I have created something pretty extraordinary. It was extraordinary. It was a huge success at the premiere. It ended up with performances all over Europe, in Germany and France, following the premiere. And it is, I think, the best thing chorally that Antonin Dvorak ever wrote. We did it 30 years ago, packed the house. They haven't heard it for 30 years in this town.
Oh, I didn't realize it hadn't been performed
and it's not
the beginning.
Not performed in this town for 30 years, but it's hardly performed in America. Hardly performed. Look at New York or Symphony or the Chicago Symphony. People aren't doing this piece. So I will tell the audience, all your listeners out there in Radio Land, TV Land, you better come on March the 7th at 3 o'clock to Safe Credit Union and hear this Requiem of Dvorak. It is an hour and 36 minutes of the best thing he ever wrote. And if you don't come on March the 7th, you won't hear for another 30 years.
Well, and sadly to say, I don't know that you'll be the conductor in 30 years from now.
No, I'll be 6 feet under probably by then. Absolutely. But it is stunning music. Unbelievable. Very hard. The choir is working very hard to learn this piece. It is stunning music.
Let me ask you, over the course of that 30 years, in the recognition and the accolades, share with us some of the awards that the city's, or you guys have been recognized for, that have just permeated the entire choral society of the country, to say, again, why Sacramento?
You mean how many? What kinds of awards have we won?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember them all. There's been so many, but we've gotten the best arts organization in town. We've got the best executive leadership through Jim McCormick's work. We've got things from the state senate presented to us.
The list goes on and on.
It does go on.
I was looking at the website, which is a fabulous website for demonstration of your performances too.
Thank you.
If anybody's curious,
thank you.
They're there with some links to actually hear and see what's going on, because it's a visual as well. It's not just an audio performance. There's a lot going on stage. There
is. And the website, as you said, Jeff, the website is the best way to find us something out about what we do. The website, because it's a pretty thorough website. It's interactive, and
yes,
so people can really find out about us. But yeah, it's been a labor of love. I mean, I was teaching. I was the the director of choral activities at Sac State for 33 years. What does that mean? So I came here. I taught at LSU in Baton Rouge for a couple of years. So I left Toronto. I went to Baton Rouge and taught there and I was second in command. And then that summer I was teaching in Alsace, French, Canadian music, because they speak French there. And I applied to Sac State, and I got the job. And I was a student at Stanford years ago, and I remember how beautiful California was. Palm trees, sunsets, sand beaches, no snow. I thought, I'll go to California. So I left from my second in command position in Baton Rouge, and I went to Sac State. I became number one. And they just stayed out of my way and let me do pretty well whatever I wanted to do, which was great.
Well, I think it looks like you knew what you were doing, Donald.
Well, I was sort of trying to find my way, but I established the graduate program. They didn't have a graduate program in choral conducting. So in my second year here, 1985, I came in 1985. I think it was in 1986. Maybe I established the Masters of Music degree program in choral conducting.
Wow.
MM degree. I graduated, by the time I finished my tenure there, I graduated nearly 40 students with their master's degrees in conducting and created a real interest in mesmerizing these kids into getting into choral music, And a lot of them went on to finished their doctoral degrees at college, and they're teaching at college and went to other countries. And many of them were teaching the high schools and the colleges around here, and they feed me students too.
Yeah.
And so it was a great, great love affair. I loved my students. I just loved my students. And I had built 4 or 5 choirs at one point at Sac State: the chamber choir, the men's choir, the women's choir, the university choir, the master's chorus, and all these kids were coming in and doing their degree. And I took these kids at Sac State had never been out of Sacramento hardly, and I took them literally all over the world. And I raised the money. I just made it happen and dressed them up in tuxedos and got dresses for them. And they didn't even have tuxedos and dresses when I came here. Anyway, so we built up a huge, huge audience base. So most of our concerts were sold out for years, Mm-hmm. Our Christmas concerts, we did it 3 times just to get all the audience members in, But I took them to Canada, took them to Vancouver for the first couple of times, and then we went to Vancouver many times. We went to Montreal. We went to Ottawa. We sang in the Parliament buildings in Ottawa. And then I took them to San Diego and San Francisco many times, and Stockton, and then I took them to Europe, to Italy and to France and to Switzerland. These kids had never been to Europe. They'd never been out of Sacramento, many of them, and
right.
they were just. They were just mesmerized by seeing what happens in other countries. We sang in Notre Dame in Paris before the fire, of course.
Yes.
That changed their lives in ways that nothing else could. Whether they were a math major or a social science major or a journalist major or something like that.
Yeah, who gets to do that?
They would go to Europe and sing in Notre Dame, and they were just a changed person.
Sure.
And they came back and school was never the same. They never remembered a damn thing about their science class, but they never forgot their music class.
Yeah, certainly.
Absolutely. So I loved it. It was great. And I just got so old, I thought, I got to retire. And I don't know why, but I just decided to step away. But
33 years is not a bad run.
No, it's all right.
Collaborators, who are some of the other organizations that you work with in the community?
Yeah, sure. We
certainly
collaborate a lot. Well, CSUS. For years, I had my Sac State choir singing on the stage in what was then called the Community Center Theater.
Sure.
But now it's called the Safe Credit Union Performing Arts Center because they bought it. But it's so we collaborate. My kids a lot of times got to sing on the stage with the professional symphony orchestra in a professional concert hall. It was really a life-changing experience for those kids, too. Well, I also collaborated with my church group, which is a semi-professional group called Schola Cantorum, really wonderful choir. And we've had collaborations with narrators, many celebrities in town, many TV personalities. We've had a collaboration with dancers, so we've had a lot of different dancers with us on that page.
So would that be coming from like the ballet or
yeah.
Orchestra with the Philharmonic?
The Dean Crockett Ballet and a company like that, and some of the Sacramento Ballet. And as I mentioned earlier, the KVIE did that. We collaborated with KVIE in one of the concerts. It was a huge success. It sold out. It was called The Music of Downton Abbey. This was
really popular show.
Absolutely. It was a heyday of Downton Abbey. I'm a Downton Abbey fan. Like I said, I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan. So we did this whole big production of Downton Abbey, and KVIE partner collaborated with us, and it was just amazing. They put in a green screen where you could stand behind it, and then they had Downton Abbey behind you. You could have your picture taken with Downton Abbey, or some of the big life-size cartoon characters were cut out. You could put your arm around them. And we dressed the choir up in like maids with little white hats, and the guys were in their tuxedos. And we did a lot of the music from Downton Abbey, and it just more fun than human beings should be allowed to have. So we also, have collaborated with a lot of high school choirs in the area. Many of them have sung with us on that stage. And again, for a high school student to be singing on that stage with a professional symphony orchestra and this powerful, muscular choir behind them, that was really outstanding for those kids. We also partnered with the Sacramento Children's Chorus.
Really? Okay.
Collaborated with them, which I founded with my grad student, Lynn Stevens, ran for 26 years now. But it's called the Sacramento Children's Choir. And it was a professional opportunity for kids, young kids, to learn how to sing, how to collaborate with each other, how to present beautiful music and music education. Very big, heavy point of music education in that outreach. And those kids, we had at one point we had like 240 kids in the program with 5 choirs. The top choir was as good as any children's choir in the world. They've traveled all over the world. They've won a number of awards. So we've done a lot of collaboration with partnership with all kinds of groups in this town. That's been great.
We'll continue our melodic conversation with Donald Kendrick right after we hear from those helping us hit the high notes with the Sacramento Choral Society.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, Five Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're Five Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com, and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with CapTrust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
At Western Health Advantage, healthcare isn't just a service. It's a shared value. As a nonprofit leader, you need a health plan that understands the importance of mission-driven work. Western Health Advantage is a local, not-for-profit health plan that supports organizations like yours with affordable, flexible coverage options for your team. But what truly sets them apart is their commitment to community, supporting nonprofits like the American Heart Association, Sacramento Ballet, and the Crocker Art Museum's Pay What You Wish Sundays. With access to top-tier providers and dedicated local support, Western Health Advantage is more than a health plan. It's a partner in your purpose. Explore your options today at westernhealth.com. Western Health Advantage, healthcare with heart, designed for those who give back. All this travel, all the orchestra, obviously the singers are volunteer, correct?
They are. They actually pay to belong. They pay a whopping salary of $50 a concert to belong.
Okay.
So $100 a semester.
So how are you funded? How does the organization get funded?
We have an annual fund drive.
Okay.
And that actually goes on throughout the whole year. And that brings in about $50,000. So it's a year-long function. We also have family foundations, like the Fun Family and people like that, who give us about between $15,000 and $20,000 a year. So that helps. We do something that I invented in Canada called a sing-a-thon. And basically it just happens where I used to do this with my kids at Sac State too. When I came down here, it was a good way to raise. And we thought about it. We thought that the dream came to me in Toronto when I was working up there. I thought, the kids just go out and it's like any athon. You get a little pledge for how long I will conduct, and if I last 8 hours or 10 hours. And I used to do it in the malls here in Sacramento for like 10 hours, but now we do it for much less time. But each singer in the choir just goes out and gets pledges for how long the sing-a-thon goes on.
Okay.
And we bring in about $80,000.
Oh my gosh!
Just on one night for that. But because I don't like fundraisers anymore, I'm way too old. I shouldn't be allowed to go to fundraisers at my age. But I just want quick and easy money. So like let's not sell grapefruit, or let's just get this done, a sing-a-thon once a year. So we get about $50,000 from that. As I mentioned, the big day of giving is also very important for us. I mean, it's a very integral part of our fundraising, and we get about $50,000 from that for the big day of giving. The membership dues, the choir, well, they all pay $100 a semester or $200 a year, which is really cheap compared to the Bay Area singers. Some of these choirs charge $700, $800, $900.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, a lot of money. But we are $50 a concert, so that brings in about $28,000. So our annual budget, Jeff, is about $550,000.
Okay,
maybe a little bit more. A lot of work on that budget, but it's about $550,000. But we stretch every dollar. One of our board of directors, our donor, said, Don and Jim, you guys get more out of $1 bill than I've seen any other arts organization do in this town. You say to arts organization, a budget, they think rent a car, right? Huh? Yes, no. We know how to stretch the money and to make it work. So.
Well, it's amazing what you've been able to do. Clearly, you've been doing it well over 30 years. You're still here. And not only here, but at the highest level of not only performance, but recognition. Yeah. And that's about to change. And that's part of this conversation. Right. Because 30 years is a long time. 30 years is about time to say, hey, I need a break. And with the two gentlemen, yourself and James McCormick, not only the co-founders of the organization, but you're the only you're the only conductor. We got all the secrets. And he's the only administrator.
We know where all the skeletons are buried.
Yes, you do. And that does portend some issues, right? Because that intellectual equity is yours.
Right.
And it's time now to look at that next step. So typically here we would ask, what's the dream look like for the organization? But I would imagine for yours, if somebody said, Donald, I love what you do, here's a blank check, it might look like some way to reformat, to bring in what the next generation of Sacramento Choral Society is going to look like. How do you see that? What happens next?
Well, we would just absolutely love to have someone come in and give us a blank check, Jeff. That would be a wonderful start to a new epoch for us. And I think if that did happen and someone did step forward and say, Don, Jim, what you've built here in 30 years has been pretty amazing. Nothing else has happened in this town like the Choral Society. And when I do step down, and not yet, but when I do step down and Jim steps away, we don't want it to collapse. I don't think just because I'm not conducting it, or Jim's not here, it should not go on.
Correct.
There's been a great growth, a great thrust. It's something that is out of our control even. It's a life of its own now. It's a life force. So I do want to go on, and I want to, for another 30 years, another 60 years, and continue to provide great music to our community and around the world in these tours. But if we did have a beautiful donor or people wanted to step forward and help us, I would certainly want to see that money probably go into the endowment first, because we have an endowment in the regional foundation, community foundation downtown. They house our money. We have over, I think, close to $400,000 in that account for the foundation. Now we can access that account. We could take off 10% if we wanted to for operational funds, but we just don't touch it. We just leave it there because it's a nest egg, So if this magical person wanted to step forward and guarantee the future of this incredible organization, we would probably want to see their money go into that endowment as a safeguard so that we then could begin the search and begin to find a world-class conductor, a world-class. And what we really need help in, and one of the things that we probably want to hire is someone who could help us with development, someone who could help us with marketing. Now, those are two different things, right? Development and marketing, but marketing is selling tickets, right? Also the development of the organization. So someone who could do grant writing, for example, and we need help in grant writing too.
Because right now it's really just
it's
James
Jim,
with some volunteers,
Jim,
right?
And we have a lot of volunteers. We have a whole staff of people who come into the office. Each of them has their own day or a couple of days a week. We have Cheryl Young, who just runs our organization as our orchestral library. We couldn't exist without Cheryl. And Cheryl Young and her husband, Tom Siebel, were great help to us. For all these years, they've put these orchestras together. That is an extraordinary amount of work. Contracting these busy players who play in 5 other orchestras around the country, to get here and here's the rehearsals and here's make it all work, and then getting the music to them and bowing it and getting it sent out the parts, and it's a nightmare. Cheryl's worth her weight in gold. So we have that. We have a volunteer chorus operations committee of 40 members. 40 members in this chorus. Yes, sir. And they all have job descriptions. You do this, you do that. They know exactly what, and they're very proud. They're protective about. They're good leaders, and they make the chorus run. On Monday night, the chorus operations unfolds in a matter of no time. All the setup for the choir. The choir comes in and rehearses, and then they have the tear down. And it's gone like Camelot in the night. Disappears for another 100 years. Unbelievable. So these volunteers who come into our little tiny office on Bridge Street, they all know exactly. Someone looks after the cash from the night before at the rehearsal. Someone looks after the program, brings someone after the orchestra music. They all have their job. Someone looks after this huge library we have at McClellan Air Force Base that keeps all the Christmas music got filed. We just did a Messiah sing-along that sells out again every year. They make sure all that music gets back. It's a lot. But they are happy to do it. Many of these people are retired. Not all of them. Some of them are still very busy working people. But it's a passion. It's a passion. And this is the thing. This is what is different about maybe us than the orchestras or the bands. In the choir, people have a passion for what they do. They love it. We're driven by love. We're driven by passion. And, I just want to see that passion continues. That culture that we've achieved, we've arrived at, we've unveiled a culture in the city, a culture of music, of love and passion that presents world-class performances to the audience. And I just want to see that protected.
What does the next conductor look like? I almost said, what does the next Donald Kendrick? But there is no other Donald Kendrick. There's only one of you.
Well,
so how does that next person come in? What are the expectations? What if you're speaking to that? They're out there somewhere, whoever that is. They may listen to this podcast. What would you like to see that person be?
Yeah, whether it's a man or a woman or whoever, it doesn't matter to me. But I would want to, first of all, I want it to be the right person,
yes,
not the wrong person. And it's so easy to find the wrong person. And we've done it. And we've seen it happen many times. In my career in 2 countries, I've seen it happen a lot. Where the wrong person comes in and everything gets destroyed in a matter of years and falls apart, But it has to be someone who, I think Jeff, first of all, has to understand the spirit of the culture of the chorus and appreciate and respect the spirit of volunteerism. These people are busy lawyers, doctors, housewives, and you want to have someone who respects who they are, not to take advantage of it, to be aggressive or to be acerbic, but to love them and to respect them and to administer. And so loving, generous, warm, good musician, he has to be able to conduct almost 200-voice chorus. He has to know how to conduct a professional symphony orchestra. They don't want to waste time. They don't want to mess around with someone who's just learning to wave his hands in front. They want to know that you know how to conduct a professional orchestra. And I'll tell you, professional orchestras can eat conductors alive.
I would imagine.
They can just gobble you up. They can sniff you out and smell you in 5 minutes. Does this guy know his stuff or not? And that's a little hair-raising
A little
experience.
intimidating, right?
Yeah, a little intimidating. So someone who knows how to conduct the orchestra, someone who loves people, who wants to help people, who wants to teach people, because the conductor is, first of all, their teacher. In this case, it's often their only voice teacher. He's going to teach you how to sing. He'll be their first and only voice teacher. They're not singers. They're amateurs. Someone who knows the repertoire, knows the whole canon of choral music, from Gregorian chant to that 20th century Stravinsky, who can also be brilliant. And I said this to one of my grad students. I'm still teaching conducting. I said to one of my kids the other day, some of the most successful conductors are people who know how to program. Michael Tilson Thomas and I were good friends in Boston years ago. He conducts the San Francisco Symphony. Now he's stepping away, but and Michael was a brilliant programmer when I was in Boston with him. He knew exactly, now there's a lot of Stravinsky back then, but he knew exactly how to put pieces together that made the audiences rush to the hall to hear these concerts. So it has to be someone who understands what's good for the choir, what's the choir's capable of and not capable of, and what the orchestra would like to play. And the question is, I asked my student this yesterday, I said, well, who do you program for? Yourself, the audience, your singers, or a little bit of everything? That's a good question, Dawn. I go, because when you make that decision, that affects how you proceed. So it's a different ball, like it's a yarn that you have to unwrap slowly. Has to be a good psychologist, has to be good with people, has to be good with fundraising, has to be good with press releases, has to be good with programming, has to be good with, it's a lot.
Chameleon, unicorn.
Exactly.
Right? All of the above.
Yeah, and yet it's not. It's nothing more than just being a good person who loves choral music and wants to train people how to do great performances on tour.
You've seen a lot of people come through over the course of the 30 years, both academically and from the performance side of things. Mm-hmm. Are there any success stories in there of people you could say, well, so-and-so went to, or so-and-so went to, and that originated just here out of little old Sacramento?
Absolutely. Countless stories. I've had kids who've gone on to get their bachelor's degrees. I've had kids who I pulled into my choir, and they ended up singing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. My little boy, John Fanning, he was in my cathedral choir. I sent him off. He was in a rock band. He didn't come to church choir late from his rock band. I pulled him out of this terrible rock band, and I put him into my New England Conservatory in Boston, where I went to school. I sent him down there, and he ended up coming back, and he's one of Canada's leading baritones. He's now just retired, but he's singing in all the opera houses in the world. And this little John, who came in and broke my glass window when he was taking off his parka from the snow, and he put his elbow through the window anyway. But my kids here at Sac State, many of our voice majors, my students in Schola Cantorum, my kids in the Choral Society, many of them have gone on to international schools. One of them went to Bard College in New York. One of them went to Juilliard. They've gone on and done great things with their lives, and they write to me letters. I taught at UOP for a year. I went down to help them. They're having trouble with their choir.
University of the Pacific, for those who...
Yes, the University of the Privileged, I call it. But anyway, so I went down to help UOP to get their kids back on track. And one of the girls was a little freshman, darling little girl, and I put her in the chamber choir. What? She's a freshman. I put her in the chamber choir. I believed that she was such a beautiful... She went on to have a big career in New York at the Opera Company, New York City Opera. She wrote me a letter one Christmas. Dawn, I've never forgotten you. You put me in the chamber choir at UOP when I was just a freshman, and you inspired me to want to reach for the best. Yeah, I've had so many touching stories of kids who've had really outstanding careers and still are having outstanding careers.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Over the 30 years, the fact that you've been able to be consistent over the 30 years, you've performed every home for the holidays.
Yes, 30 of them.
Gosh forbid you get sick. My goodness,
Yeah.
What happens if you do? How do you unwind? Many of our executives, they're in a space where, whatever their nonprofit services, and it can be daunting. Yours, you wouldn't probably go to a concert as an escape to, or maybe you would. What is it that you do that helps you relax?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really consider it work. Isn't it awful to say that? To me,
It's the best kind of job to have.
Yeah, it's never been. I never viewed it as work. I just viewed it as something I want to do and something I enjoy doing. At one point, Jeff, in my career, when I was at Sac State, I was conducting 6 choirs in my professional orchestra.
I heard you saying that as you're going through the
6 choirs. Like what? But I don't consider it work. I just love to do it. It's my life. My high school teacher, Lloyd Erickson, from Norwegian. He was a Norwegian. He inspired me. I never knew what I wanted to be when I got out of high school. I was 18 years old. I ran away from home when I was 18. I had to get away from my family and my parents. I ran away all from Calgary, Alberta, all the way across to Toronto to live with my aunt in her rumpus room. But I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And that's why high school teachers, that's why I tell my kids when they're doing their master's degree with me, you're the last person to put the thumbprint on that kid. You're the last person before that kid goes out the door to find that Beethoven or that Mozart or that composer or that conductor that might turn their life around. And so at 18 and a half, I turned 19. I thought, I guess I'll go into music like my high school teacher. And that's exactly what I did. I know. I had no idea what I was doing, but that's the path I went down. So what do I do to relax? Well, I use the music to relax. I love reading through new pieces. I love through looking at new repertoire. I'm a repertoire hound. But I love tennis too. I love playing tennis. I'm a real tennis fan. I love skiing. I'm a Canadian, so I love skiing. And I have a beautiful swimming pool in my backyard. I just love California. I'm so grateful. I have a wonderful life, Jeff. I mean, everyone should have my life, I've never regretted anything. And I've done a lot of wonderful things in my life. I've had great opportunities. I was very young to conduct the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. And when I was in Canada, the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra, the Kitchener-Waterloo Symphony. I told my kids the other day at school, my graduate students and my conducting classes, I said, I don't think I've ever conducted amateur orchestras, maybe 4 or 5. I could count on one hand. For 51 years, I've conducted only professional symphony orchestras. What does that mean? That means I'm run by the union on the clock. Like every minute's going to count at this rehearsal. Don't mess up. Don't waste time. Every 15 minutes, $10,000 just flew out the window. So it informs my rehearsal technique. How fast I work, how I rehearse is informed by the fact that I'm always looking at the clock and how much money is this costing, So, yeah. So I've been very, very lucky. I've had wonderful players, and my orchestra has been 30 years with me. Even before that, when I used to, in the old days, when I was still teaching at Sac State, but I used to be the chorus master of the Sacramento Symphony. So I prepared the choir for the Carter Nice and people like that, Jeffrey, whatever his name was. But anyway, and then they went belly up twice. And that's how this all started. And they all turned to me when the symphony went through the floor. The budget fell apart. Everyone left town. The players and the chorus turned to me and said, well, Don, could you keep us together? And I said, well, let me go home and think about this. I'll come back to you. So Monday morning, I went back and said, well, we'll try it for a year. We'll see how it goes. Now, these players are my friends. They're not just an orchestra. My orchestra has hardly any turnover for 30 years, except for people who retired or died.
Sure.
But they're not just an orchestra. They're our family. I played for their weddings, their funerals. I know their kids' names. I know how much money they make. I've been to their homes for dinner. We're a big family. I mean, it's really, I know it sounds corny, but we're a family. And I was conducting them even before I formed the Sacramento Choral Society. So after I was doing all the concerts with the old symphony, it was called Mostly Mozart, and they would do those down at the Crest Theater, and I would conduct those with the orchestra, and then Beer and Jeans, and I ran that series for a while, and then I would conduct the out-of-town stuff, like up in Yuba City and stuff. I'd take the orchestra and the chorus up there, and I'd conduct those for years. But then, so I said, okay, we'll try it and we'll see it. So we formed a chorus 30 years ago, and that year I took them to Carnegie Hall in New York, and we sang in Carnegie Hall. We've been back to Carnegie Hall since then, of course, and we've sung in all the major concert halls in the world. I took this whole orchestra, this entire orchestra, to Los Angeles. We performed in the Walt Disney Concert Hall. The orchestra, I took you to L.A., the whole orchestra went to L.A. and sang the Mozart Requiem. We recorded it. There's the recording. The Mozart Requiem and Lordson's Lux Aeterna in L.A., in the Disney Concert Hall. In Beijing, we sang in the Beijing Concert Hall. The communists built unbelievable architecture. Communists built these amazing, better than Carnegie Hall, made Carnegie Hall look like a dump. They press little buttons on the wall and hydraulic risers come out of the floor to put the brass higher, the winds higher, the choir higher. It was a spectacular hall. We've had worldwide experiences. Slovenia, unbelievable. We were in Dubrovnik, Paris. It's breathtaking. All because people really want to make a difference. They want to belong to something that's doing something valuable in their community. Not just to feel good, but that they are contributing to the community and making a change where they want their kids to hear them sing this music. Come and listen to Dvorak or to Haydn or to Brahms, Requiem, Verdi, Carmina Burana. No one in this town is producing this but us. And I hope that it's going to go on for another 30 years.
I am amazed. 30 years later, I just can't imagine you had any more passion 30 years ago than you do today. And the energy and enthusiasm which you're presenting today is exciting. It's like, okay, I got to go. When's the next one? What's the next thing? When's it coming up? What's happening?
March 7th, 3 o'clock, Save Credit Union Performing Arts Center. Be there, be square.
Where's the best way to find out more information? I think you mentioned the website.
The website, sacramentochoral.org.
Okay, so it's sacramentochoral.org. We will have that. We'll have that in the show notes so that it's easy for people to grab.
Thank you.
Don, you and James have lived your vision for this organization, and your persistence and care and concern and love for what you're doing over the years has really left an indelible mark on Sacramento's cultural life. There's nothing like this anywhere.
No, there's not.
Clearly there's not,
No.
or you wouldn't have seen the accolades that you had. And as the Choral Society begins the important work of transitioning to what that new artistic and executive leadership looks like, the community's support has really never mattered more. And that's really the essence of this conversation. It's one thing to get it out there and make people aware of it, but it's another thing to make people understand that we want to continue it. And the significance of what you have created and the significance of what the community has supported doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much for that.
It's been a pleasure.
And
been a pleasure.
now on to the next generation of it, so to speak. So we have something that's sustainable and future-looking, and that we get leadership with the same compassion and interest and just sincerity of doing what they do, to your point, to heal people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I truly believe that's all going to happen. How? We're right now in the middle of a succession planning. Succession planning. That means what will happen when Don and Jim step away.
Right.
And that's a complicated experiment. But we've got great people helping us. We've hired a company from New York, international, and we've got great boards of directors, people, and they are asking questions that need to be asked. And we're looking for solutions. And I believe that we're on the right track, and things are going to happen.
That commitment goes so much deeper than just the surface of what we see, because I've seen it from the board. The board has reached out to us and said, we would love to have you interview Don and James. And I said, well, let's start with that Home for the Holidays, which is what we did. And here we are with a full-length episode to really get the message out that the significance of what we have, this gem of a performing arts, it's bigger than just a choral society, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And it's such a unique situation that it's going to take some time. So,
and we have time. We're in no hurry. I told them, I said, you know, I will step down when you find the right person.
Perfect.
Otherwise, I'm never going to stop.
On that, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. And don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guests tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio with generous support from our outstanding partners. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com.